Salve. In this video, we're going to learn about the perfect passive. In English, we can create this tense by saying something such as, it has been done. The has indicates that it's perfect tense, a completed action in the past. The been indicates that it's passive voice, meaning that the subject is being acted upon instead of performing the action. When translating a perfect passive from Latin, we could go with this, or we could also go with it was done. However, we can't go with it was being done, which would indicate that something was in the process of happening and would therefore need to be imperfect tense. All right, now for how to form the perfect passive in Latin. In my opinion, this really isn't that difficult, but it is drastically different from anything that you've ever seen before in terms of verb formation. To form it, we use the fourth principal part of the verb, in this case, superatus. Then we, as a separate word, add a present tense form of the verb sum esse. In this case, we can add est, just for our example. And that's how it works. So, sticking with the verb superare, we'll get the following perfect passive forms. Superatus sum, superatus es, superatus est. In the plural, something changes. The fourth principal part of a verb actually functions as an adjective, which means that the US ending can change depending on the situation. In the plural, we'll change it to an I, and we'll get superati sumus, superati estis, and superati sunt. Translating these into English won't be very hard. Superatus sum means I have been defeated, or we could say I was defeated. Superatus es means you have been defeated, or you were defeated. Superatus est has a few more options. As I said, the fourth principal part is an adjective, meaning that it is gender specific. Since it ends with a US here, it's a masculine form. That means that it can be translated as he has been defeated, or he was defeated would work as well. And that works if the subject is a person. However, the subject could also be a thing that happens to be a masculine noun in Latin, like the word for army or cavalry, which are both masculine in Latin. In that case, you would want to translate it as it was defeated, since an army is definitely not a person. However, we can't translate this as she was defeated. For that, we would need the fourth principal part to have feminine forms, like we see here. This wouldn't change how the first and second person forms are translated into English, since the pronouns I and you aren't gender specific in English. However, the third person singular form, superata est, means she has been defeated. Again, it could also mean it was defeated or it has been defeated if we're referring to a thing that's feminine in Latin, such as a country or a city. In the plural, we have superati sunt, ae, because it's a feminine plural ending, and this means they were defeated. The gender doesn't affect the translation here, since the word they isn't gender specific in English, although it is in some other languages, Latin included. The fourth principal part could also have neuter endings, like we see here, and that would give us superatum est, which means it was defeated. The plural form, superata sunt, would mean they have been defeated or they were defeated. The neuter forms are only going to show up in the third person, since it wouldn't make any sense to have neuter in first or second person. Okay. If we switch to a different conjugation, the good news is nothing changes. We just do exactly the same thing. Here we have a second conjugation verb. We still just use the fourth principal part and add the present tense forms of sum. So we get monitus sum, monitus est, and so forth. The plurals will switch to a plural ending, so moniti sumus, moniti estis, moniti sunt. We have masculine endings here, but it could just as easily be feminine or neuter. The second person singular form here, monitus es, means you were warned or you have been warned. Here's a third conjugation verb. Again, no changes in how we form it. Fourth principal part plus the present tense assume. And we get missus, sum, and so forth. The first person plural form, missi sumus, means we have been sent or we were sent. All right, next, a fourth conjugation verb. Same process. And we'll look at the third person plural form here, inventi sunt, which means they have been found or they were found. And that's how we form all of these. Now, one of the questions that students often ask about perfect passive is why the present tense of sum is being added to it. Shouldn't it be the perfect tense of sum in order for it to be perfect passive? And that's a logical question. The answer is that the fourth principal part is itself a perfect tense form. So its inclusion makes the entire combination perfect tense. Take a look at this example. Cena parata est. Dinner has been prepared. We could also translate this as dinner is prepared in English, and it still makes sense. If you say this in English, you're not saying that the dinner is being prepared right now at this moment. You're saying that it was prepared in the past, and now it is a prepared dinner. So, this Latin sentence is really saying that the dinner is something that has been prepared. So, the present tense assumed does the job. Okay, let's see a few examples. I was forced. We'll use the fourth principal part of cogere, which is coactus. We'll need to add one of the present tense forms of sum, which we see here. Since this is first person singular, we'll add this one and we'll get coactus sum. And of course, if the speaker is female, then we would switch it to coacta sum. All right, next, it was abandoned. Our instinct might be to use a neuter form, so we can go with that, and that would be relictum. Then we add the third singular form, and we get relictum est. Or, if the thing that was abandoned was masculine, relictus est, and if it was feminine, relicta est. Next one. We have been ordered. We'll change the ending on the fourth principal part to an I to make it plural. Then we'll add the first person plural form of sum, and we get iusi sumus. Or if it's feminine, that would be iusai sumus. Okay, one more example. They were broken. So let's start with a neuter form. For neuter plural, we'll use fracta, that A ending, because it's a neuter plural. Then we add the form of sum that we need, in this case sunt, and we get fracta sunt. If we needed to be masculine, that would be fracti sunt, and if we needed to be feminine, fractae sunt. And that is it. That is all for the perfect passive. If you have any questions, let me know. Wale.